This is Naoki Yoshida.
This is Fern Halls.
And you are listening to Aetheryte Radio.
Aetheryte Radio.
Here we go.
All right, hello everybody, and welcome to Aetheryte Radio, Gamerscape's Final Fantasy XIV podcast. I'm FusionX. Joining me today, we've got three of us. We almost had four.
Pretty good.
Almost
so
had.
close.
We were so close.
Gotta be
Rook,
quicker than that.
Aldino, welcome. Yeah, it's unfortunately Zen is not feeling well. And it's it's always the policy here. If you're not feeling well, don't show up. Go back to bed.
Mhm.
Take care of yourself. So that's where she is. Not a lot to talk about this week, but we do have some stuff. So we're going to talk about that. The first thing here, the next Little Ladies Day event has been announced, and it's going to begin on Monday, March 3rd, and run to March 17th. The artwork this year has Thancred given Minfilia some muffins.
That's so cute.
Yeah. You go.
No, I was just gonna say that I'm wondering why. Like, why have
Why
they
would she
focused
eat
this?
muffins? That just I've
Why
never
would
heard about her
everyone
eating
knows.
muffins before. Why now?
We know she hated muffins, so no. I'm curious. Like, are they gonna destroy us? Is this gonna be like a heart-wrenching flashback echo kind of thing, or is it going to? I hope so too. Like, I genuinely would love to see that. Yeah. Also,
completely
I had
ruin
a friend.
us with a
Yes, please.
muffin related cutscene.
Yes, I also had a recent revelation that was perhaps the silliest thing in the world, and that really should have dawned on me sooner, but I truly cannot tell you why it did not. Which is that Little Ladies Day aligns with Hinamatsuri in Japan. I have wondered for years, where I'm just like, why do we have like a pop idol springtime festival in Final Fantasy XIV? And it's because there's an actual holiday that it aligns with. So thanks everybody. I'll keep bringing these big revelations to everyone.
This is why you watch us, for those things, right? Right? Yeah. It's interesting because I think very recently the Yoshipi mentioned about putting the Scions into promotional material like this for seasonal stuff, even if it doesn't make sense, because I mean, spoilers, but that's not right now. That's not current. The picture of Little Ladies Day is not current.
It's a flash.
Yeah.
So here's the problem with the picture though.
Yeah.
Because in the background there's a person wearing the new outfit.
Well, it was
said,
always here. Totally.
That said, this game hasn't always had the best track record when it comes to outfits and timelines. If you look at all the trophy crystal gear we got before Solution 9 even existed, we're just
I'm telling you, it's like we're gonna have like a flashback. No, I don't know. I did see people also commenting on the fact that Thancred is like wearing the La Habrea necklace, and things like that, which I'm sure the artist just probably was like, oh, they want a picture of Thancred in his original design or something, and just grabbed it and did it. But I do think this is sweet. I love the outfit.
I didn't notice that before. That's oops. The muffins are poison.
La Habrea, this is the true death of Minfilia.
Oh no.
Poisoned muffins, in case anybody missed that back in A Realm Reborn.
Next on Final Fantasy XIV, what if Minfilia didn't become the voice and do all that stuff? What if she was killed by muffins on Little Ladies Day?
Like, let's be real. If the Ascians really went to great lengths to do evil things, but if one of them had like possessed Tataru and then just been like, hey everybody, I made muffins, and then just served them to the Scions, every single person there would have eaten those muffins.
Yep.
And if they had been mega poisoned, I think it would have been much faster for the Scions
also
to actually achieve their goals.
If you wanted to do Tataru, you could do the economics thing and just possess Tataru and just sit around and not do anything to help fill the coffers, and then they would just go bankrupt, and well, that's it. You can't do anything without money. So
in hindsight, it would have been really easy to defeat us.
Yeah, I really would have. I mean, I will always say yes to a good baked good. You know what I mean?
It's true. I mean, But what if La Habrea wasn't trying to destroy us? What if he really, really inhabited Thancred and then inherited these feelings, right? I mean, Emmett Selk did live 1,000 of our lives and saw your children. Just saying. Shippers, there you go.
He did. It's canon. We're not making
canon.
stuff up.
So I look forward to that fan fiction of La Habrea inhabiting Thancred and wooing Minfilia. Please get on it.
With poisonous muffins.
Who am I kidding? It already exists.
Not in this case. I'll say I am interested to see what they're going to do for the event. I keep hoping. I'm like, oh, I hope that maybe we get to see another unique mini game or something. Who knows? Probably not. Little Ladies Day historically has been a little bit more of a straightforward one, but I do think this art is cute, and I do really, really love the outfit reward. It's probably one of the recent event rewards that I saw, and I went, oh, yeah, I'm gonna get that. Like, I'm gonna get that.
You know, I saw this, and it made me think, and it has been a minute, but I feel like this is close to what your Guild Wars 2 NPC is wearing.
Oh yeah, probably.
Right?
Oh,
that's what I thought of. I'm like, I think this is what that NPC wears, something kind of close to this.
Look, I like a good kind of princely look. I like a good fitted jacket. I like a good single like cape top tossed over one shoulder kind of look. I wear that normally in my everyday life. So
yeah, I mean, you don't want the full cape. The full cape will get in the way, but like a half cape, easy.
Look, let's hope that the dye channels make sense.
Oh, please.
Let's just hope. Because I'm looking at that and I'm going, well, Red Mage, just immediate or anything like it, right? It's a little, bardly as well when bards are kind of beholden to the other jobs in their group. So it's nice to get that. I don't know. Those shoes I think I've seen a billion times. Like, I'm not normally the glamour expert. However, those shoes, I don't want them.
It is hard because at one point, like, things just look samey.
Sure.
Right. And not to say that they are like, obviously, people work on this stuff. It is different, but it just, it's like, yeah, we've kind of had something like that before, but
true. I mean, like, a boot is a boot is a boot, right? To some degree. I'm sure
what if the boot isn't a boot
out there? I know, but like, that's the thing, I've been playing Infinity Nikki recently.
Oh, here we go. Yep.
I fell deep down that rabbit
Pandora's
hole.
box here. Okay.
I've never come back. And I am very impressed. Now, of course, their entire game is based off of fashion. So you want a variety of silhouettes and all kinds of things, right? But I have been very impressed by how Nikki has even made me reconsider, like, oh, wow, that's a fun idea. Oh, wow, that new skirt, it's like see-through on the top layer so that it looks like it has this little like picture or something, and then it like overlays over this thing underneath it. Like, wow, that's so cool. Like, or whatever kinds of things that they do. Beautiful like headpieces and all the different accessories and the way that they play with that. So, I mean, I think all MMOs could definitely look to step up a little bit of that fashion game, be like, how can we usurp kind of expectations on certain silhouettes? I like the detailing on the boots. I think like the little buttons up the side are cute. I'm sure I'll use them for things, but why not go a little thigh high? Why not have like an interesting cutout? Why not make the heel shaped like something, I don't know, you can do something fun, right? And I think it's true. It's hard at a certain point in MMOs, especially when they have specific silhouettes. It can be difficult, with depending on how you render the character models and the outline or shape or confines or adaptability to different races. All of that definitely is a different consideration. But I don't know. I really like the top on this.
Yeah, I do too.
It's very cute. It has a little Matador vibe as well. It's just, I like it. I think they could have gotten a little more interesting with the pants and boots for sure, but maybe they'll keep thinking about that themselves. Like, how could we keep shaking things up?
It's just more ammo. Just more ammo for all of it.
Yeah.
More glamour for the glamour commode.
Yeah. Speaking of glamour, last week we did get some new stuff on the online store. We got Zero's attire, which comes with the Did you plan that, or is that just a happy accident?
When I decided what am I going to wear for the show, all right, Zero stuff came out, so it was planned about maybe an hour ago, so it's fine.
Well done. So we have Zero's attire. the modern aesthetics, void swept strands, and the scythe. So if you want the full thing, it's $20 across 3 purchases. And no, of course the hat doesn't work with Viera and Hrothgar.
But the hairstyle does, right?
The hair does.
Yeah.
But
And the Hilda hair
doesn't.
does as
Oh, and the
well.
Hilda hair. Yeah, that came out. Was that the week
the Hilda
before?
hair.
Yes.
I believe
Yeah.
so, yeah.
I mean, honestly, we've said it all before.
Yeah.
We know, everybody knows.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Come
I don't know.
on.
Come on. But I am glad that we have Zero's attire. I love that. I love Zero's whole look. I love Zero's everything. They need to give me a Zero CC face for Midlanders. Please and thank you. Same thing with Emmerich for Ellison.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you know, it's hats beside. Like, it's one of those pieces of gear that is just reminiscent of the style that I like from the game, that I really love from the game. And I know, yes, I know we had a bunch of 4 stuff with that expansion, but we're going back to the Void one day. I think probably, maybe. I can't wait to see more stuff like this. I really can't. So it's good.
Yeah. They should have had the hat tilt like emote. I mean,
oh yes, that's coming. You know that's coming.
Come on.
It has to. It has to, right?
Yeah. They have to wait until they can actually tip the hat on every.
They need to wait for everybody to be able to wear the hat.
Yeah. Fair, because that's a different reach every.
Yeah.
Part of the reason that I was gone was I was doing a talk at a convention about animation and rigging and mocap, and that just sent me back. Yeah, that tipping the hat is not easy, not that hard, but it's not easy.
Yeah.
How did the talk go, Al? Do you know?
Oh, there's a lot of excited people. I think halfway filled the room at an anime convention. I don't know why they decided to listen to me, but they did.
That's
It was very
good. Coming soon to Patreon. Aldino's recorded.
Sure, why not?
There are so many things that I'm going to have to put up on the Patreon after this this show. Honestly, while we're on the topic for Patreon, we are running a little behind on Patreon stuff this month. Just life has been lifing real hard. So our Ask Aetheryte Radio answers will go up later today for our Q&A. And then we're also recording Dungeon Disaster today, hopefully, if Zetten's feeling better. And we will get that up. We'll still make sure that patrons get the full week early access to that. So it'll just be bumped into releasing next month for everybody else. But if you're interested in supporting us, patreon.com/Aetheryte Radio.
This one may truly be a disaster.
Oh no!
Depending on what happens,
we'll see.
Also coming.
Can we do it with 3?
Ooh.
Oh, I believe. It'll be spicy, but I think we can. I think we can hobble right?
Made for 3 people. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
We'll make it up. The thing. Moogle treasure trove. I'm like looking right at it. I'm like, what is this?
How do I read?
Moguli treasure trove. The hunt for. I don't want to try and say that wrong. That's not going to end well for any of Phantasmagoria. So yeah, I mean, obviously we get these before each major patch. So this is going to start Wednesday, February 26th. So that means probably live letter on like the 14th? Was that the day I was thinking, or was that the Saturday where we would record it?
No, I think live letter
14th. Yeah, probably the 14th with a patch on like the 25th is basically probably what we're seeing now. For the items this time around, up at 100 tomes, we're getting the Paisa earring. They're bringing back the Inferno jacket,
which is nice.
At 15, which is nice. Yeah. We're getting the Shadow Gribber trumpet. So that's the Hades EX mount. We're getting the Falcon ignition key. Remember that mount? Remember when like they gave people things for like subbing for certain amounts of time and then they stopped? Yeah. But then they did like a one-time thing that they said they were going to do more of, but they never did.
That's
so that
motorcycle like prop
It's
propeller one, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it's the
Falcon
one
is-
because
it's
it
like a
released
little-
during
yeah.
Stormblood, so
It's like a little airshippy.
it has like 3 modes basically,
Gotcha.
depending on if you're in air,
Yeah,
and
okay.
sea, or on the ground.
That's a good one.
Yeah. And then
I
a
like.
bunch of the usual kind of stuff.
I like a
yeah.
lot. Oh no, I was just
You
gonna
were
say that I like. Sorry, I like the barding.
Right.
That was
Yeah.
really good. It's the Queensguard barding from Boja, and it's very cool, very steampunky for your chocobo.
Mhm.
There is an emote, the Walling as well, Winsome
Right.
Wallflower, which is going to be in there. And then there's some fun little, I like the sort of furniture stuff and things. The tabletops, there's fluffy pancakes, little candlelit vignette.
Someone
with
get
a
some fluffy
heart
pancakes. This is
picture.
the tombstone event for you.
Yeah, and of course you can always as well just farm things like MGP if there's other rewards there that you want to get, or you can get the riding maps as well for different regions so that you can go faster in them. So yeah, I was glad. I really like how they've expanded the Moogle Tombstone
Mhm.
event. I think that adding in those different categories, adding in the new interface that allows you to do like, the weekly stuff and other things with the, different durations of challenges or the Ultimog challenges that you can do once during the event. And I think they're actually putting in as well this time Eureka as something that you can get stuff from. Maybe I'm wrong. I thought somebody was mentioning. Hold on, I'm scrolling through.
I saw somebody mention that, but I didn't
Yeah.
actually see it in here.
Yeah. I don't know if that was like mentioned on a live letter
Must
or,
have been mentioned.
take this with a grain of salt, everybody. But rumor has been in the community that Eureka or like the zones are going to be.
I wonder if they saw the Boja barding.
Maybe they just
Maybe
thought
they were talking about that. I don't know.
Yeah. But it's possible. So I would like to see that. I'd like to see them keep sort of adding in different objectives that you can kind of engage with to get rewards from. But yeah, keep an eye out. Go check it out. See what's updated for yourself. And yeah, try to get some stuff.
Okay. Up next, we have the live letter digest. Obviously, we talked about the live letter when it was new 2 weeks ago. We just got this digest a couple days ago. Square, please be faster. Couple little blurbs in here worth mentioning. They do talk about the Sunken Temple of Karn getting trust NPC support. And they do mention that where did it go? There's so many things. Temple of Karn.
Oh yeah, it was terrorizing people.
Yeah,
like
it
Final
has
Sting
gained
Doom.
notoriety for terrorizing new players with mechanics, some of which will be changed to work with duty support. And then they say, if you're fond of the current version, you still have time to pay a visit before changes go live.
Wait. Things in Karn were terrorizing people?
Final Sting and Doom, because if you get doomed and you don't stand on it, you'll die, and then mechanics.
Yeah, well, yeah, I mean it's interesting though, because I wonder how they'll change that. Like, I wonder if they'll just make it more noticeable. To me, that would be like, that would be the ideal, where like you have a message pop up or something, and it teaches you about cleansing on platforms. Because Karn was one of the first duties that I can think of that taught me the concept of getting something like a doom or a debuff and then cleansing it. And you use that in the Crystal Tower raids. You use that in a ton of other stuff moving forward from that. So I hope they don't remove it completely. Final Sting is interesting too, because it is one of the few. So for anybody who doesn't know, Final Sting was one of the few insta-kill like trash ad abilities that I can think of in a dungeon. Where these bees that are in the Temple of Karn, if you let them live long enough, they'll do a final sting. And I think it doesn't always one-shot max level players now. I think it takes you down very, very low. But definitely if you're a newer player,
they got you for sure.
But it's funny because it really hasn't been a problem of late because the ads die so fast. So
yeah, it must be specifically for duty support, because you can't really focus or stun like reliably unless it's you. So I guess, you know, whoever the duty support NPC is for that was just going to die. So maybe they'll change it. I don't know how they'll change it other than to remove it, because I don't know how you get around that with duty support. It's like, we'll kill it faster. Well, I'm only one of the 4, and I can't control what they're targeting. So
right.
I wonder how they'll deal with that. Like, I would love if it just told you, hey, it's happening, but since it's duty support, it won't even matter if it tells you, hey, it's happening, if you don't have a stun. So
I'm so curious to see what they do to this. I mean, we talked about this before too, when they announced Temple of Karn and them going back and doing the optional dungeons with trust support, and are kind of worried that they're just gonna bare bones everything and just, you know, strip out all the uniqueness that these dungeons have had.
It just dawned on me that another huge thing they probably are talking about is the fact that tanks have to position those heads and kill them on the platforms.
That has to change.
Could be.
No,
it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
I mean,
have to
for
change.
duty support, it does.
But here's the thing, though. They're not going to have 2 different versions of this dungeon.
Yeah.
Whatever they change for duty support is going to affect the main thing.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
And
it's going to change it for everyone.
And why? They're optional dungeons. You took care of the MSQ. You nuked the uniqueness of all the things up to all through the expansions. You just to the ground, right? And now you're doing the optional things that should be more unique and more challenging. Like, why are you wasting the time on this?
I mean, we'll see. Yeah. Like, it falls in line with what they've been doing to try to streamline some of it. And I think there are benefits. Like, there definitely are for new players. And yeah, I can't forget the first time I ever ran that dungeon. How much I loved it. Like, we had a conversation with people and they were like, oh, you have to move it here. You have to do this. We can use these to open up these optional side areas. And while you don't have to, and most people don't open up the side areas anymore, very few people even actually put the final scales on. They'll just trigger the mob, fight them, and just go, right? So, like, in a sense, removing some of that stuff isn't necessarily really, really removing things that the main player base actually even engages with. Yet, I still love it. And, like, that's the kind of design that I want to see in dungeons. I want to see unique little challenges. I want to see unique little gimmicks. I want to see little explorable side areas. And it doesn't mean that everybody's always going to do those things, but to this day, I still actually like explaining that dungeon to people. And if they're new players, I like to take them through. I'll be like, do you want to see all the side chambers? Do you want to do like, okay, so we'll collect all of these. But I mean, who knows? Maybe they'll leave some of it more intact than we think. And I mean, otherwise, it's not the end of the world, especially if they keep designing fun stuff moving ahead, because Dawn Trail dungeons were fun and enjoyable in a lot of ways. So
that's what I hope to see. You know, like it sucks, but every MMO that's lived for a while has to kind of fit through the keyhole to make sure that things make sense up to a point. And then once you're in current, then you could get back into the experimental. So hopefully that's just what they're doing. It sucks that they have to do it for duty support, specifically for optional dungeons, but I mean, we've already seen a little bit come back into dungeons. I mean, what is that, the Stayborough Deadwalk or whatever? Yeah. So we've seen a little bit, not really of that come back, but in the encounter design. So I don't know. I think WoW over the years has done similar to the old. I mean, I remember I'm not going to wax poetic about WoW, but Shadowfang Keep, that was a dungeon. It was, and now it is. Oh boy, is it kind of bleak. And just because you could get lost so easily in there, like you would be left behind. But it is. You have to do it over time. I don't know if you have to do it. Don't ask me that question. I don't know if you have to, but you do it over time. Yeah.
Well, and I mean, and when we've talked about Criterion before, this idea of like, well, Karn has all these unique things. Nobody does it anymore. It's that same thought with like Criterion. I think even on like a bigger scale, a little bit, just in terms of like what kind of resources they put into it. Right. Because Criterion's also not in any kind of like roulette. So it comes out, you do each path, it's done. And then if you do decide to do it for whatever reason, you might have somebody looking to do a certain path, but people are just gonna like whatever, or optimal route or quickest route, whatever. And so they're struggling with dungeon design, I feel like right now, and they need to figure out what the new thing is, because what we did get with Dawn Trail at the end of with like Deadwalk and the other one. The other one,
the Valley, Sabotender Valley.
Yeah. Like they're great
Tender
dungeons.
Valley.
Yeah, Tender Valley.
But they also have been incredibly formulaic with dungeons in terms of like trash mobs to boss, etc. for like years now. It's almost like they feel like there's a weird obligation to have dungeons, and they're like, yeah, it's just blah, 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 blah. Okay. I
mean, there is an obligation to have dungeons.
Sure. Well,
like,
right.
It's very interesting though, because we've mentioned a lot about like what would refresh dungeons, what would bring more in, because I think every single MMO reaches this point, right?
Oh, yeah.
Where dungeons in particular are typically just kind of a bread and butter, slap them in sort of thing that MMOs have. So, I think WoW took the approach where that normal version, like the base story version that you do, is like so face roll. You just like blast it. You get some gear. You run it a handful of times so that you get enough gear. And then you use that to kind of be a stepping stone. But then you have the option, things like Mythic Plus, right? Where as you go up, it adds different modifiers to the dungeons. And the actual like trash packs themselves, even in that original normal version, much like how Final Fantasy builds their educational kind of stuff, right? Where the normal version will teach you basic things. Like you'll see in that normal version, mobs casting certain things or, stuff like that. It's just they die so fast, you don't have to worry about it. And then once you get to the higher levels of Mythic Plus, suddenly then all of your CCs matter, all of your cleanses matter, and you're like figuring out like, how do we pace this? How do we use all the resources? How do we do and stagger the kicks that we need? Like what mob is going to summon a bunch of other enemies that will probably wipe us? What's going to which I think is so brilliant. And I'd like to see 14 bring some of that in. I actually think we talk about, I love the Criterion dungeons. And I've actually run them a lot. I've run them a lot with people because I take so much joy in doing them with people who haven't done them before. I've mentioned it before, but really it's fun, everybody. I'm telling you. I like going in and being like, hey friends, let's vibe. Let's pick the pathway. You want tips? No tips? I'll help you or not. Up to you. And then we just kind of like run through and try and get everything. I try to encourage them not to use guides and stuff, and we just have fun. So I think there is something repeatable about those. Figuring out how you make the higher levels rewarding, or how you continue to encourage reruns of that type of content for greater goals, or perhaps relic weapons or other things too. I think would be something nice they could do.
Yeah, I think if they had tried a little bit with relics in the last expansion and put them in Criterion, I think you'd see a lot more people interested in Criterion now. And one thing we didn't hear about in this live letter, nothing about the new Criterion dungeons. We were supposed to get some in this expansion, in this patch cycle. Haven't heard anything.
Gotta be 0.3. I would expect variant / Criterion. I'd expect a little bit of talk about Beastmaster by 5.3, 5.4. And Deep Dungeon, right?
Yeah.
That's another thing.
Deep Dungeon. It makes sense that we would get like a Criterion between like field ops zones, probably, because we'll get one in 0.2. We'll probably get the other one in like 0.4, 0.5. Juggle that around with the Deep Dungeon somewhere in there.
I am so excited. I am so excited. I'm thirsty for Midcore content. I want it so bad. Yes, please sip your beverage. Any of our listeners won't be able to tell us, but Fusion's dramatically sipping his beverage.
I'm thirsty too.
I am thirsty, and the drought is
so
over.
Parched. So
it's
parched,
about
everybody.
to end. We can bathe in the water. We can drink the water.
I'm still keeping this to drink. I'm not gonna just dump it on my head or anything.
Yeah. Please share your new computer as well. Really, we are going to have so much starting with when all of this stuff drops in the 7.2 stuff. I'm so ready for it. the timing is perfect for me, although I know people were hoping it was going to be a few weeks earlier, but for me, I'm going to be like, I will finally be back from traveling. Like I will be able to sit down and play this. But really it's exciting because like Fusion, you were listing off there like, and then we have Deep Dungeon and we supposedly have this, and then we'll have another field op zone, and I was like so happy.
Well, it's funny that you say it that way, because we did get a Deep Dungeon with the last expansion. We actually, all of us, jumped into it for a little bit, and I feel like I finished whatever like the little story beat was, where you only go like, you know, a handful of floors in or whatever. I finished that, and I like never went back in because I just like at this point I'm like, it's another one of these. I don't know.
I mean, this is a great opportunity for them, right? I think that for me, Eureka Orthos felt like the weakest of the Deep Dungeons.
Yeah.
It still is there's still good stuff to get from it. The challenge floors, while I actually have not completed them myself because I kind of disengaged from it, but I did do a lot of runs of I got most of the other rewards just from the general floors. And I've done the bonus floors in both of Heaven on High and Palace of the Dead. But I think that this is a great opportunity for them to really expand. Because one of the things I loved the most about like Palace of the Dead to Heaven on High was that when I got into Heaven on High, I was like, yeah, I'm excited to do this content with friends. And then there were these charming little animals that showed up. And I was like, what are these? Yep. And you could go run and like, oh, I get buffs. And then like we had, you know, the different weapons that you could get. We had some floors where as you went up, like there were just no walls. And I was like, what is this? Like,
yeah.
I think that if they build on what they did with Deep Dungeons with like Heaven on High, it's going to be so fun, because even if it's the same type of thing, there's still unique bonus stuff you could put in it. They could do a whole unique, even like roguelite weapon thing or bonus thing. We had the Auricite or the summon stones that were introduced. We had like, there's a lot of things they can do that will make it still fun and exciting, and you'll discover new things, or they could do a little twist on some of the challenge floors. And if they deliver on more of these rewards, like they said they are supposed to be putting in, I'm hoping we'll see something closer to the spread of rewards in Palace of the Dead and Heaven on High, because that was a big draw for me, that there were a lot of things and rare drops and like a million things in the loot list that you could work towards and try to get. Heaven on High, there's those bonus mounts and special decorations if you complete the bonus floors. So I am hoping that they deliver that. But even so, because it's releasing in tandem with so many other things, I think it's going to be a really nice like fill in to hop in and do stuff with people.
Chad Sander just killing my mood immediately. We're all so ready for the news that Occult Crescent will be starting in May.
No, it's starting March, right? Am I wrong?
Well, so we talked about this with the live letter. Here's the thing they decided to do. They did not give us a timetable for each specific piece of content on this live letter. It is the 7.2 first peak thing. The bits about the Relic weapon says it starts in 7.2X.
Yep. Which is good.
They don't say that about Occult Crescent. They do mention that Cosmic Exploration is just 7.x patches for the additions of that stuff. But yeah, we really don't know.
Okay.
Because we have Cosmic Exploration, we have Field Ops, you know, and so are either of these dropping with 7.2? We have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah,
that hurts.
I would have to imagine 7.2x, and we're talking 7.25, 7.28 if they do that, most likely. Yeah. You know, I mean, the raid is going to be what, early 7.2? What is that, 2 weeks after usually?
Yeah.
So there will be stuff, right? But yeah, the midcore, I mean, you've got normal raids in the story.
Okay.
Hopefully that'll tide you over.
Not for 2 months, it won't.
No.
Like, look. I am going hopium all the way.
Yeah.
God bless you, child.
I think they just didn't want to like full on commit to it. Maybe they're trying to finish stuff up. Maybe they're trying to make sure that it's all good, right? But I am hopeful. I'm just gonna say it. I'm gonna manifest it. Everybody manifest it with me. I'm hopeful. Like, even if it all doesn't come out exactly with 7.2, which I'm sure it will not, that we are going to at least get one of those big pieces of content at 7.2 or close to 7.2. And, you know, I am really looking forward to the new raid because the first raid here was really fun. And I do think the new raid will also be a really good time. And the story's been interesting. So look, I'm hopeful. I think they're going to release something with the 7.2 right up front. Yeah. I'm going to say
they're going to release something.
They're going to release one of those big things.
Yeah, one of the big things.
Exploration or or our, why do I always call them exploratory zones or adventures?
I don't know. I don't know how your brain works.
Field ops.
I mean, it's the same. Yeah, I agree with you. I think that, you know, next live letter, they're probably going to drop it on us that it's after Savage, but probably by 2 to 4 weeks, I would say. So that would put it at, late April, early May.
Yeah.
So chat, you know, you're probably not wrong. I mean, that's the thing. We can predict these things because of the way that the content cadence has been, which is great and terrible at the same time.
Yeah.
Especially if, you know, they haven't said it yet. But it is what it is. Like, we know that this is so backloaded, which is something that I don't know that they've said anything about, but hopefully they've understood that that's not the best way to be. It just has made this feel worse.
Yeah.
You know, if this stuff was out a little bit earlier, then we would have had a little bit more legs with it. Everything else could have taken the same amount of time, but there would have been that mid-core pillar thing to do because chaotic is not it.
No.
Nope. No way. In no way, shape, or form. So you're probably right, May, but hopefully early.
Yeah, I think, you know, we've said it before, but I will say it again because it's I firmly believe that they need to do this. Start the big grinding content
right away,
earlier. You don't need to do it like right at like 7.0 or 8.0. You can do the 0.1, but do it at the 0.1 because we need something to do.
Yeah, I think that this patch cycle has been really informative, right? In many of those ways, especially if they're looking to try to do all of the types of content that we've had in the game in every expansion cycle. That is a great goal. I love that goal and I support that goal and I think that is great. But figuring out how then they divvy that up and how they put it in is the big question for them. And I think that the way that they kind of backloaded it this time is going to be so good when the drought is over, fam. We are almost ready to not be parched anymore. It's going to be so good. We're going to have more to do than we even know what to do with. And maybe that was purposeful. Maybe they were like, if we get everybody in with a bunch of stuff and then we have a new expansion, the game will be at like, huge playability. We'll have a ton of folks coming back. We'll have all this hype amp up into the expansion. But I hope that they also are looking at it and they're going to try and pace it out differently maybe in the future. But it's very interesting, right? Like, it's been an interesting experience going through it when we know that there's so much coming up. And who knows, maybe they just didn't announce the specific date because even though we have an idea that usually field ops comes in 0.25 or stuff like that, right? Maybe they thought they could get something out sooner. And so they might surprise us.
Maybe.
Since we've been waiting for so long.
I mean, it could very well be that 7.2 drops and hey, look, field ops is here and then the relics don't start until later. But it feels weird that they would do that and not have the relics to start with the contents. But, with this game, it's one of the worst things about it is the schedule. It's predictable. We know what they're going to do. We have a really good idea of probably when stuff is going to drop. And I would love for them to shake it up just like a little bit. But we'll have to see. Speaking about cosmic exploration, in the live letter digest, they did clarify a little bit. We had some kind of inclination that they were going to changed the way that players can see the progress of cosmic exploration. So like if you weren't there in the moment, you'll be able to see the progress. And I was thinking it was maybe still like in like some kind of sequential order, like you just you do a couple quests, you see the next phase or whatever as you go. It's not. It actually here's what the digest says. It says with Ishgardian Restoration, players had wanted a way to look back at the various stages of the firmament's construction, and for cosmic exploration, we're preparing a feature that lets you look back at its stages of progression after the fact.
Okay.
Interesting. Right. So like maybe you go up to a like computer console or something, and if you missed it, maybe you can like see the construction phases by clicking on that console, like whether it's like a cutscene or you can like choose different settings of progress.
Yeah,
it's
I'm glad they have this. Like first and foremost, like as somebody that played through like 2.0 and Mordona and all that kind of stuff, I'm glad they have this. This is absolutely not the way I would have done it. The way like looking back on it is I would rather progress through and just see it change like fully through the steps versus like I get there, it's already done, and then I look back, because you lose that personal sense of progression, which I think was the big issue with things like Ishgardian Restoration. And that still will be an issue here, but you can at least go back and look, and you're close, Square. Like you're almost there.
It's close. Go ahead, Aldino. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's interesting because you can't like hard stop the progress, right? So you can't be a new player, come in 7.4 and go to cosmic exploration and there's nothing there like the island sanctuary. Because I'll tell you right now, I still have a tent on my island sanctuary. I don't think that I ever finished that first quest. But I don't think you can do that with a cosmic exploration. Or could you? Is that what you would like to see? Like, let's say brand new player, you're a couple patches behind. You start on that first place, right? We've heard that we're supposed to go to multiple places over the course of the time. Do you think that you would like to see, all right, I'm brand new, I come in, there's nothing here, I build it up, and then because nobody would be in that phase with you.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't know how you deal with that.
Well, it's kind of a conflict of group progress versus individual progress.
Right.
Yeah.
And what the purpose of the content is, I think that from a longevity standpoint, Dome and Enclave is far more individually satisfying.
Right.
Because anybody can go into it. You can just level it up. Eventually you get like a place where you can earn extra gil. You get all the rewards from it. I think they could have even I think that they could have done something like that for all of these restoration zones, so that like if you have spent the time and done all of them and contributed all the stuff and built up all the things, then you would have a ton of extra vendors that would like buy stuff for extra money for you if you're not like a huge crafter, gatherer, raid food maker, or whatever else it is that makes big gil in this game. You could then have invested in all these places and you could get some kind of return and all the rewards and have the story culmination. But it seems like what they're looking for, but I think they've kind of waffled back and forth on what they're looking for. I think they've been trying to feel it out, which is not a bad thing. Because there also seems to be an aspect of this where they want this to be in the moment, limited time window, large scale group engagement. And so to be there when it happens, to be there when this, portion of the game is restored or whatever else, you need to be in the game and you need to be there doing it. And then you witness it, which is, it's not my favorite, but it's effective because then you do feel like I was there. I contributed to that. You can say to other players, like, I remember when Mordona was just like garbage and now look at it. Like, it's something where it doesn't affect anything large scale in the game, but it's more of a, I was there when, and it's kind of a login during this limited window. as well as something that rallies everybody. And of course, with like Ishgardi and Resto, they left some stuff in there so you can use it to level up, you know, gatherers. You can get some special rewards. You can do the fets that happen there. And like, that's cool. I guess my big question is, if that's what they're doing for this content, then like, what's going to be the sustainable long-term reward? You know, like, because this is so removed from, it's not like we're restoring Alamigo. It's not like we're, right, this is just like, we're going to this planet. And so for me, I can only wonder, like, what's going to be really engaging about this to players who come to this later, if they're just like, yeah, guess what? You can colonize the moon. Here it is. We did it. And you're like, cool. All right. Well, what do I do here? Are there like side quests? Are there things to gather? Is it just going to be more like crafting, gathering, leveling fets? Is it going to be like, that's the big question for me, because if there's something engaging and interesting about these places after the fact, or something that you get from engaging with it, then or it's like the backdrop, like we see with like Mordona and stuff, to other places that you already are going to be engaging with, I think you have a little bit more of a built-in reward. But like, otherwise, what's going to be the engagement or the long-term benefit for players if they miss out on the window? And I mean, like, yeah, what's the point to even have people participate as it is? Like, do they just get some cool cosmetics, or I don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
we need a little bit more info about how this is all going to work, I think. But yeah, I think the best two things to look at for something like this is Ishgardian Restoration and Doman Enclave. And it feels like, you know, they're trying to find kind of a good middle ground with this. We'll just have to see how it works, I guess. Because it's, you know, I think in terms of like player progression for somebody that comes in late, Doman Enclave is like the way to do it. But this is an MMO. You need MMO content. You need content that involves more than 8 people. So like, I'm not gonna say not to do that. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see how it pans out. I mean, we have kind of the rough, the bullet points of what this is going to be, but until we actually, you know, play it and get hands on, or hear more about it, you know, we're still kind of figuring it out.
Yeah, I think there is a lot of possibility and promise in it. Even the little quote, nurture the development of planets by completing missions and events as a community. Like, that could be cool. You know, they could do something like a crafting rush, like, I don't know, there's a population on this planet and they desperately need food, or you need to construct walls because the solar storm's about to happen. Pylons. Or like, so they could have different stage releases. No, you're good. They could have different stage releases of different things that could lead to some fun and interesting events for crafters and gatherers. Or that could also be engaging as like a crafting gathering mini game in the future. To folks, you know, kind of like a crafter gatherer tower defense, like we talked about, or whatever they want to do with that. Diadem
13.0 coming with cosmic exploration.
Yeah, but hopefully, I'm just hoping that they'll have a range, so it won't just be like, you don't have to do any crafting really to do this. You can just like show up and pick up a box and drop it and you did it. Like, or that it won't be something that is like I loved the concept of the ranking boards in the Ishgardian Restoration, because I think that does give a reason for people to want to be there, or like the things they were able to choose for their servers to build or stuff like that. You could have community votes or something like, what structure do we build next on the moon? Or, if you've contributed X amount of stuff by this date, then you get to contribute a vote to something. Or, I don't know, like there's stuff that they could do that would make it more engaging.
You know what I would love? You know what I'd love to see with this? Cosmic Hamlet defense.
I knew it was going to come to Hamlet.
It's fun.
I knew it.
Fun.
Bring it back.
It would be fun. I just think dynamic events like that unroll over like a period of time would be more interesting than just like, here's the same fates on a timer.
Sure.
But like, I don't know. That we have no idea. We have no idea how they're going to build this up or expand it. And Ishgardian Restoration was still very fun to just kind of like whittle away time with anyway.
Yeah.
And a lot of people got really into it. So
Yeah.
And that's what we need more of in this game, is more things to give us a reason to log in and just lose ourselves in, and then, oh, hey, it's like 3 a.m. all of a sudden. That's what we need. Not more soloable change in uniqueness of dungeons, trust compatible, whatever. Give us the crazy stuff. So
yeah.
There's promise for it. I think there's potential and possibilities of what they're going to do.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to see how it actually, as we've been saying, we'll have to see how it pans out. Because we can't pass any like judgments at this point.
It's not here. We don't know everything.
Yeah. And I do like, okay, as much as I prefer the fantasy elements of the Final Fantasy verse, I do have to say it's very fun seeing things like the pictures of Meteor like in his little space suit with his little space coffee. It's like,
it's very like I don't like PSO kind of like vibes and stuff. And
I love it.
It's so weird. It's like, you know, it's like when back in 1.0 when they're like, we're gonna introduce a special mount. It's a Goobu. I'm like, that's not a chocobo. What are you doing? What this? Huh? So that's weird.
So
I think space was a mistake. I think they should have kept it a little more grounded. Space is like, we're gonna go to the far reaches of space and fight the being that's like ending all creation. But then like this like Mamulja that's like hyped up on like future juice is somehow stronger than that. Like it's so weird, like thematically and like the timeline wise of things. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. One thing we did get clarification on, going back to kind of Occult Crescent and that 7.2x series of stuff for relic weapons. They say, based on feedback we received, we redesigned the progression methods and incorporated elements reminiscent of the Atma step of the Zodiac weapons. We'll cover weapon enhancement quests in more detail during the next live letter. So there you go.
Yeah.
So does one of you want to explain for those folks who maybe have never done the Atma Zodiac quests, what that stage was like? I can also try to.
That was just the fate thing, right?
Wasn't it fate farming? I'm pretty sure.
Fate farming.
They randomly got from fates, yeah.
It's just
it's like the more like recent example that people might be more familiar with is like the tokens for the Yokai Watch event.
Yes,
it's that, but like you can use them for a relic weapon.
It's interesting because Atma, of all the things, wasn't. I mean, none of it's hard to do. It's just time, right? Of course. Atma nowadays, just like Yokai Watch nowadays, is just going to be Blue Mage Haven, right? Like, and I want Beastmaster. We need Beastmaster so that we can do more Atma, right? Because they didn't say light; they said Atma. If they said light, I would think matched content, roulettes, things like that. But when you say Atma, like, it really feels like you're saying Fate. But maybe they're not. Maybe it's some combination. Maybe instead of different Atma per region that you do a fate in, which is how it works.
Yeah.
Maybe it is different Atma per type of content you do.
Yeah, and
try and make you do more.
You know,
I don't know.
And we, it's like starting to think about that. I'm like, well, yeah, but then the way it used to work, but things have been added since back when we had these originally. Specifically, the new Moogle Tombstone stuff. You can easily attach a value of a currency onto whatever. And so they could easily do that for like a relic thing. You know, whether that's like a new, you know, they take the compendium for the tombstone stuff and they make one just for the relic. I don't know. But that's certainly an option that they could do if they, are having a method that, takes players back into other content, whether it be open world or instance. They could include both in that if they wanted to. I'd hate to see another thing that I have to buy with like fate gemstones. The Those
Oh, I
are
know.
no, don't you dare.
Add those at the beginning of the expansion, Square. Don't like make me max out all my Fate stuff and then like 2 patches later they're like, if you want this thing, it's a bajillion gems. I'm like, cool, nice, great, thanks.
Okay. I'm glad. I'm happy. I'm glad. I'm happy.
Okay.
They could have said to me, we've adjusted based off of feedback. We put the new currency on the backs of lemur monkeys that run through the zones, and you have to go find them and chase them down at breakneck speed, and you have to catch them and wrangle them to ground and pry out of their little monkey paws. And I would have been like, I love this.
I don't know when the next election for director of Final Fantasy 14 is, but you would get my vote.
Sure, yeah.
I would love that.
Crossover.
I would do it.
Yeah.
Ape Escape crossover. So the fact that they have given us literally anything other than what we had in Endwalker.
I would argue they didn't give us anything in Endwalker.
I'm just saying anything other than what we got in Endwalker was going to please me, and I am pleased. This is as I see even chat. Well, if you're watching live, our chat. If you're not, when we broadcast it live, this is who I'm referring to. Mentioning the fact that it's probably just a first step, which I agree.
Oh, yeah.
I think probably
certainly.
this will be just like the first step.
Absolutely.
So Atma farming is fine.
That's A-okay.
It's A-okay. I think for me, because they already put bicolor gemstones on Fates, I don't necessarily know if I think that they really need to attach other farming content to it. This is my neutral opinion. This is this is just my thought if I were the one leading the game and designing monkeys that run through the zones. I personally would be like, I would rather expand the bicolor gemstone system on its own, or perhaps take that opportunity with Atma farming to then add some new rewards to all of the zones for bicolor gemstones so that folks have something else that they can continue to work towards or get, right? Because otherwise it feels like, personally, not all, but a large portion of any repeatable content that we have had since the expansion released, like, what, a year ago? How long has it? How much time?
It's been about 7 to 9 months.
So a little bit less than a year
It's like
ago.
July, so.
Okay, yeah. All right.
Yeah. It's currently the 14th month.
Yes. So the large majority of things that people have been able to do that is not endgame related content is fate farming and treasure maps. So if the first step of your relic is going to be doing more of what people have already been doing, I think you run the risk of people being a little bit fatigued of that activity.
Yeah,
sure.
Yep.
But again, all of this to say, I will do anything. I'll do anything. Thank you, Square Enix. I would love to go get some little Atma crystals to eat like little rock candy. I'd love to do it, and I'm going to go do it. So it probably will be a first step, and I hope that at the very least it gets people out in the zones and running around and doing stuff together, and that we get to see that maybe expanded, or maybe that they attach it to other content too, right?
Now I'm just thinking of the Benny G video where the Warrior of Light's going around and eating all the convocation crystals at the end of Endwalker.
The good thing about, them specifically calling out Atma is it was one of the steps where you could just keep grinding if you wanted to. You know how many you got? That's cool. Just keep going and get them for multiple jobs before you even have to go to the next step.
Yep.
That I think is very important for content like this.
Yeah.
Because you want to do it when you want to do it. And if you're like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to stay in this zone for extra long because the train is good today. Let us have that freedom. You know what I mean? I loved, and I don't know why, I loved the light step. Having to hop between different content felt good for me. I don't know why. Because I wanted to get that bonus. But that is less fun when you're stuck in the last instance, or you're like, I really don't want to do that, but it's the bonus. This kind of gives you a little bit more agency over which one you want to do. You'll have to do Fates and what is it? Is it Eastern Thanalan? That's just Ceruleum and Bleak right now. There's nothing there. I haven't been there in years. Right?
Yeah.
If you have to do that and the train's good tonight, well, hey, just stay for a while and get the next set. That's cool. I also absolutely loved those first weapons because they had a story with the Zodiac Braves, and it was great. Please do that too. Give us a good story. Anything, that'd be cool.
Yeah. I mean, we had a story with these kind of, but there's such a weird, like, I want to ask Yoshida about their asset delivery pipeline so bad, because before Solution 9 even existed, we had relic weapons that looked like they came from Solution 9, and we have PvP gear that they literally wear in Solution 9. Like, I have so many questions of how that happened. But yeah, so we'll have the 2 paths. Obviously, the other path will be progressing the relic weapon via the new field ops. So I don't know. With your Rika, there was the added benefit where if you could go a little bit more, and you would have like you'd get like an extra elemental bonus or something if you did like the super mega ultra final upgrade or whatever. It'd be cool to see something similar like that. For this time around too, either stats or even just like a little extra cosmetic glow or something, would be nice, just to differentiate them just a little bit, just a tiny bit.
I like that was you, Fusion. The car alarm spike.
Yeah, that's the 3rd time this morning.
Oh no.
No. I mean, yeah, I think you bring up a good point that theoretically the Atmos step as well could be tied directly to also farming fates and stuff in the new field op, which there you go. That's what refreshes it. That's what gives you a different setting. That's what makes it something that wouldn't just be like the same zones that we had. So I think that I am on board. I just like having different things to do for different steps. I think it's important to have a good interface that communicates what those steps are, where you are on those steps to the players. So maybe even having some kind of updated relic interface would be really nice. And I was just happy to hear, really genuinely, that they have decided to go back to something that sounds like it's more like stages or steps that will encourage you to do a variety of different content and to get you into various aspects of the expansion or game, which will be good.
And it's like you said earlier too. The idea of attaching this to something that players have already been doing. That's exactly what we got with Endwalker, right? Where it's like, get tomes. It's like, that's all I do in this game, is I get tomes. So just a little variety would be great. It'd be nice to have that. Okay, so that's it from the digest for some of the kind of new stuff. Another thing I wanted to bring up here too is an interview by Hayes Madsen over at Inverse, talking to it was the lead battle. Where was it? Nakagawa from the scenario writing team to talk about the Vanadil raid, the 24-man. And what's kind of funny, before reading this, I've talked about it a little bit before, either on the show or in social media, about the idea of the team being limited on resources, or not expanding when they've said they weren't sparing any expense on this game and all this stuff. And then I read this interview and I was like, oh, it hurts so much. So they talk about some of the behind the scenes stuff and developing the raid, and there's this one quote here: there were some unique level design ideas, such as having each alliance start in Ronfar, Saruta, Baruta, and Gustaberg, or even Lower Juno, Upper Juno, and Port Juno. But we had to forego those ideas as they weren't realistic with our development resources and system-related limitations.
That would have been so fun.
I would throw money at, yes, that would be so great.
Yeah.
I would love that. I mean, that would just, again, that would make it kind of fun each time. Like, the near raids had various boss fights where you were split into different scenarios, right? Like, you had your different areas, your different things. I don't know from the developmental standpoint and programming standpoint how difficult it would be to have those, like, 3 separate places running at once within the I have no idea, but Yeah, that would have been really cool. And then every time you replayed it, maybe you'd get a different path, or you'd kind of like, they could have put different little things in there or something, or even different enemy types, and then you meet up or you have to do something. They kind of did some of that. Well, okay, they didn't actually start you in different areas, but thinking of the what was it? One of the 48-man contents in Boja, there were parts where you had to split off into different wings of the building and like go down and fight and do yeah. So you could have had something like that as well, where you have these like split divisions where in each of those different zones you have to do something different, and then when all three are complete, you all progress to the next portion of the raid or something, which would be really cool.
I mean, even back in 2.0, the original like starting concept they had for Labyrinth, for that first 24-man, was that there's 3 paths. Each party would do one of those paths, was like the original idea. But they also they talk about how Echoes of Enadil is the third Alliance raid that takes stuff from a past Final Fantasy game, and why they think that works so well. And they say that many of the past Final Fantasy titles have strong sentimental value for both fans and developers. So we tend to have high expectations for content based on those games. And when we set out to create something that meets those expectations, the overall content inevitably comes quite substantial in size. With that in mind, Alliance raids allow us to divide the scenario and battle content across 3 patches and invest sufficient resources to create a hefty amount of content. That's the biggest reason why the content on previous Final Fantasy titles are well suited for the Alliance raid format. However, this damn car alarm, I swear to God. However, I'd like to clarify that we aren't fixated on keeping this framework as is. Hopefully, in the future, we can make new content, a new content format that'll provide our players with even more surprises and emotion than ever before.
Yeah. That sounds promising, right? I don't know what the heck that could be, right? Because we think about Alliance raids, and they're content that you do with a bunch of people that probably, it doesn't matter how good they are, right? It doesn't matter how good they are. You're all going to get through it, most likely, the first day notwithstanding, right? Eventually, you're all going to get through it. You're going to see it. It's a theme park ride, right? Like, Alliance raids to me are the most theme park ride of the content we have. Like, Dungeons second, mostly because it even has the part where it malfunctions and you have to wait a little bit and then you have to keep going. But like, Alliance raids are the theme park. I don't know what would give you more. I mean, I'm a huge fan, and I know it doesn't make any sense in an MMO of solo duties. I know, and I get it. But that's how you package the story, so that you make sure that everything goes off when you want it to go off, and there's not people in the way jumping or doing something stupid.
Sure.
Right. But I don't want that for this. Like, these games, I think, are rife for that big experience, that big 24-person, 48-person, who knows, right, type of stuff. So I don't even know that I would want them to do anything there. I don't know what they could do different. That I would like better.
It's a new content format.
It's very interesting.
Is
that new content format meant to replace Alliance raids?
Right.
Or is he referring to specifically new types of content that could communicate
a story,
Final Fantasy stories better?
Yeah, I mean, that's the other thing.
Bringing in...
Yeah, with this being the response to this question, talking specifically about why past Final Fantasy games make for good Alliance raids, are they looking to do more Final Fantasy things? Are they looking to do more 24-man content? Like, I'm not sure if this is leaning towards either one of those aspects more than the other with this answer.
Okay, so like, this is me. I'm trying to rack my brain right now.
Sure.
Because I'm trying to think of like what games have surprised me with weird content format stuff recently, or what things stand out to me that could be group content that we don't have. I've mentioned map metas in Guild Wars 2 before, large scale open world events that lead to culminations like world bosses, more complicated endeavors, squadrons that are led by commanders where an entire map full of players are having to tackle tasks and stuff like that. So that's an idea.
There is a war in Hingashi right now. I don't know if you've heard about this with the show.
Yes, and Yoshida-san did mention that. So but another game recently, I was able to get into the Night Rain network testing, Elden Ring Night Rain. And this was something that was a kind of very big surprise content twist because, they were like, oh, we've done Elden Ring. We hear from Miyazaki. I don't have plans to do sequels specifically with Elden Ring. And then out of nowhere, they're like, hey, Night Rain's happening. Also, it's kind of like Fortnite or PUBG, but it's Elden Ring. And it's like, what?
Wait, it's a battle royale?
Yes.
Kind of. There's a storm that'll kill you, and your equipment is on site.
See, when I saw it, the first impression I got made me think it was more akin to like Final Fantasy 15 Comrades.
Oh, I don't even what
it was. It was a multiplayer Final Fantasy 15. It wasn't great, but it was a thing that existed.
Okay.
It's not like PvP or anything. It's your group. Well, you've played it, right?
Yeah, so it's PvE, and it's 3-man squads, but you can go in with less than that. And you essentially get yeeted onto a map in which a bunch of landmarks have been randomly generated. Those landmarks, almost all of them have a boss of some type in them, and you have 3 days, although it's really technically more like 2 days, because it's like 2 days and then a final boss. So like you have 2 days to run around these maps, to hit up different landmarks that you might know, be familiar with, whatever, farm as many souls as you can, go for those big bosses that might have drops of certain things that you want, because all of the loot and stuff is randomly generated. So you're kind of creating a build for the character archetype that you're playing as you run through. And so as you hoard this all up, the first day, the map, it shrinks because of this rain that Aldino was mentioning, where it like is shrinking into a point on the map. So you have to like maneuver into that space ultimately, and at the end of the first day you fight one of 3 bosses or something like that in that little area. And if you've geared up enough, if you have enough levels, if you're strong enough, if you work together enough, you can take down that boss, and you get to the next day, you can do the same thing, keep building your strength, fight another boss, and then you essentially go in to do like a Night Lord boss at the end. So all of this to say, right, if they wish to surprise us with content, I think that we all have to start thinking, and they, I hope, have to start thinking on a larger scale, like, what are other games doing? And while that would be wild, tossing you or yeeting you into like a map and having some kind of, like fast-paced 4-man rush kind of thing could sort of be interesting. Doing a boss rush, even like the Criterion dungeon sort of is, but like in some sort of like cyclical progressive system. Like there's a lot of things that they could do. Warframe at one point introduced a co-op spaceship mode where like you and other people could build a big spaceship, and then you could like go out to go out into space, but you'd have to like fight off invasions and fight other ships and do other things like that. Like, so all of this to say, the biggest hurdle for any of this is their technical limitations. And I don't know what they're thinking to try and like shake up or introduce new content, but I can only hope that they are thinking beyond the boundaries of just what they have done as a standard so far in the game, and looking at other types of game modes, things like that change up the rhythm or pacing or challenges of content.
Right.
Yeah, I think we're going to be, and we've talked about this previously too, especially when it comes to stuff like housing. And now, funny enough, 14 mobile, they're going to have to be looking at other games, because there are things that people are enjoying in other games that they, like if like housing, right? The way that Guild Wars 2 is doing housing, miles ahead of where 14 is. And now WoW, one of their biggest competitors, is also going to be introducing that. There's definitely going to be a point where I think Square Enix has been so focused on themselves and 14 for so long. Obviously, starting out, right, there's that quote from Tanaka where it's like, what MMOs have you played that inspired you to make Final Fantasy 14? And he's like, Final Fantasy 11.
Deep sadness.
And I feel
Yoshida-san is a different director who did not, a different director did not adhere to that.
And with 2.0, I think they did a lot of good stuff where they looked at what other MMOs are doing. But I feel like lately they've, for lack of a better phrase, I think they've had their head buried in their own sand a little bit, and they've been focusing on their own things. And I think that in the next couple of years, they're going to have to look again outside and see what people are doing, to see what their own mobile game is doing, and look and say, okay, how can we improve things in our game?
Bring that learning
and
into
the trick with that, it again comes back to resources, right? I've said already how I feel like right now that group is just bursting at the seams with what they have to do and the amount of people and resources they have to do it, and the fact that things like, oh, maybe we should revamp housing, might kind of get shoehorned and forced into them right now, when they probably already have the next 2 years mapped out. That's going to cause some issues, right? So it's, I think out of all of this, my biggest takeaway, especially after the financials came out, and, with some people, they're like, wow, 14's in the worst spot it's ever been in, blah, blah, blah. It's still making more money than it did last year. So then that's where the company looks. That's where the investors look. They follow the money. So if they are making even more money, I think this is the time where Yoshida has to go back a couple years to what he told us with Endwalker, where they're sparing no expense in this game, and they need to own that. And I think they need to invest more of what 14 is making into 14 versus distributing it amongst projects in the company. And I think there's going to be a lot of things from other sources, other games, other competition that makes them have to do that in the next couple of years. And I think it's going to be a very interesting time for the game to see how Square Enix is able to adjust to that.
Right. Square Enix itself, because of earnings, and like you can go to their press site right now, they don't have very much listed for this year. I mean, a lot of things are TBA, and there's always surprises. And I mean, the big looming thing is the Switch 2, which is coming. And I'm sure they have games lined up for that, but don't want to say that they are lined up for that. And they can't until Nintendo allows them to say these things. But it's a very light release schedule. I mean, there's no big Final Fantasy this year at all, right? I mean, we've already ported it too.
I mean, and, like, and there are things that like we know they're working on. They haven't said so.
Kingdom
but
Hearts
like
4 is happening.
Well, Kingdom Hearts 4 has been announced, right? There's the FF9, not a remake, remaster. Project, it's like whatever. It's like a remaster, but kind of a remake. But they're not really changing much, right? We know they're doing that, like maybe a tactics rework or something. Like
Tactics or 9 people have been talking about.
We know that these things are in the works. They were doing a whole bunch of 9 stuff internally. There was going to be a TV show. They added Alexandria in Dawn Trail. Like there's a lot of things happening with FF9, like IP or naming, and right. So we know it's coming. It's just a question of when.
But it is a constriction of the amount of games that they're releasing, because the last few years have been chock-a-block. I love saying that, with mobile, with ports, with new experiments. I mean, Triangle Strategy, Octopath Traveler, like things in that vein that are related. I think a little bit Dragon Quest 3, Dragon Quest 1 and 2 remake.
Dragon Quest, which was it, just 3 HD, whatever the
that just came out.
That actually sold above expectations. Holy shit, they did it! They released a game that actually.
I mean, I did my part.
To be
I love
fair,
Dragon Quest. So.
yeah. To be fair, the gaming industry right now is brutal. Like, let's just be real. There's so many companies that like they have their expectation bar of what they want to sell, and it is like so wildly, it's ridiculous. Like
It's stuck in the
so
pandemic thinking.
Yeah, like so many games are falling consistently short of that right now. And even games that succeed, like I couldn't believe that Marvel Rivals, which has been a huge success, just laid off an entire team, even though it has blown past, you know, any expectations, has earned a ridiculous amount of money, has put pressure on Overwatch, has like, and you know, same thing. We saw this with Dragon Age as well. BioWare, Veilguard sold very well. It was one of their highest seller on Steam and other things like that, with like spreading to new platforms. And while like perhaps it fell short of some corporate expectations, when you still actually just look at the numbers that it sold, it's like, man, that's a lot of games. But then we find out that the entire team has been gutted. It seems like, you know, veteran people that were there fired. There's almost no Dragon Age team left, and anybody that was has been moved to Mass Effect, supposedly.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all of this to say, it's a brutal environment right now in gaming, and having titles that are falling short of expectations, in, you know, in parentheses, does not by any means mean that they are failures a lot of the time. It just means that like current production costs of games, as well as unbelievable corporate greed, just to be honest, has put a pressure on the gaming space that is squeezing the life out of many studios. All of this to say that this has been a talking point in the community. I'm glad we brought it up, because there has been a lot of discussion about why has Square Enix not announced a ton of stuff for this year. And while we know that they are working on things for sure, 100%, it does seem like this has been more of a reserved year for them compared to some previous ones. Why that is, don't really know. Could just be that they are just, you know, they're like, they're biding their time.
Keeping their powder dry.
I will say too, you know, as somebody that has, obviously I've been doing this for a very long time, and while I have been focused mostly on the MMO aspects of stuff that Square Enix is doing, Dragon Quest X aside, Dragon Quest X, you know, over the last, you know, 20 or so years of kind of following stuff a little more closely, I can't remember a single game that came out where Square Enix is like, yeah, this sold better than we thought. It's always been, this did not reach our expectations, always. So like whoever their guy is that's like calculating this, he's just been terrible at his job for the last 20 years. Or maybe they finally found somebody new and like could actually project a realistic number for Dragon Quest. It's always been a thing. And you know, we talked about like Rivals, right? That happened this week. That same company, NetEase, they had another studio that they fired everybody for. They worked on the last Mana game, and they fired them the day that game came out. And with Square Enix, like overall, right? So we have the newer president, right? It's been years now at this point, but you know, they were working on some NFT type stuff that, you know, obviously nobody wanted. And then he came in, he was like pro NFT and all that kind of other stuff. We haven't heard anything about that project. I don't know if it's dead in the water. I don't know if they're reevaluating, but they also said that they were going to kind of step back a little bit from some of their like 3D games and stuff, which I think is the right move, because, you know, usually like once a year or every other year, we do get like a Mana or a what's the space, or like a Valkyrie profile, or Star Ocean's not, is Star Ocean Square now? Or am I thinking of something else? But there's always like these titles that come out that are like, you know, I'm sure the developers worked really hard. I know they have a fan base, but they're so mid. Like, it's like, why are we spending time on these, right? They sell a little bit. They're never reviewed great. They're just, it's like almost shovelware, right? It's like today's shovelware. And so like they're taking a minute, they're reevaluating stuff. Yeah, they're making another mobile game, you know, coin flip on that with 14. but they're
mobile games sell in certain markets very much.
It's true. I think that
just not here, because every year it's like you could almost guarantee every year Square Enix will cancel a mobile game in NA every year.
Yeah. I mean, it is an interesting point, and this is the kind of current atmosphere that 14 is in within the umbrella of Square Enix, right? And with many of the people that work on 14 also working with other titles and major franchises within the series, like Final Fantasy as an entire franchise. So it is interesting, right? It's an interesting observation. How much of this, has shifted in recent years, how much of this mentality or the scale of things, like, are there many things that the team wants to do? Do they want to hire a bunch of people, but there are higher up corporate restrictions where they're like, you cannot expand right now? We truly don't know. We are not privy to those discussions. And so we as players just experience our side, the product, our discussions on it, but they are good things to keep in mind. And I'm interested to see what this year brings for Square Enix as a whole, what they're working on, what they're going to be releasing, what they reveal, because I'm sure there will be some reveals, even though right now it seems quiet. And I am curious to see what their investment into 14 looks like moving forward, or what they are willing to empower or enable with 14 that, hopefully can push forward more, right? Because it is great that 14 has been a wonderful success, and obviously we all love it. We want people to play it. We want more people to enjoy it, to have fun with it. One of my moderators has been playing through 14 for the first time, and he was like a die-hard Guild Wars 2 player for years and years and years. Hearing his journey through has had me smiling. Like, I love reading his thoughts. I love seeing what he's been doing. I love doing roulettes and stuff with him. It's been so fun. So we want to see the game continue to grow and expand, which it will. But yeah, I hope that if there is anything within Square Enix right now that is sort of restricting some of those things moving forward, that they are able to pull down some of those barriers, or take a look if they're doing a reevaluation at what they're kind of doing in a larger corporate sense. Then it would be great to see if that reevaluation can lead to a shift with 14 where they can continue to empower that and then use that for a lot of their other wonderful projects too. That success. So
yeah, I think if they do need to kind of step back and reevaluate things, I hope that one of the conclusions they come to is maybe we should be investing more of the money that our cash cow is earning into the cash cow, because that's basically what is happening right now. All the money coming into 14. Some of it goes back to 14, right? Obviously, right?
And, it's probably a large percentage. But.
But a lot of it does go to other projects and to other areas of the company. Yeah. So I think if they decide to step back, if they decide to, hold off on the kind of mid entries, for lack of a better term, right? If they do that, if they, try to strategize a little bit more with the releases, I hope more of that money goes back into 14, because I mean, look, we're, a lot of us over here are like, well, Dawn Trail was an expansion, but Square Enix is making more money than I have before on it. So whether, whatever our perception is, the facts are money is still coming in, even when it's maybe one of their weakest times for the game. And so if they can take even more money and invest into that and come out that much stronger with 8.0, 9.0, whatever, that's going to help the company too. And I reading this interview and just kind of the vibe that I feel like I've felt for the last little bit here, I think there's a lot of stuff they want to do. And 7.x, we're getting one of everything, sir. We're getting Deep Dungeon, we're getting Field Ops, all that stuff that we've had before. But even here, talking about the Venedial raid, we wanted to do this, but we just didn't have the resources for it. Give these people the resources they need to do the cool things they want to do.
Yeah,
please.
Yeah. And I had to, just because realistic with our development resources and system related limitations. So that last bit, it always gets me. It always gets me that they're like, there's no technical debt.
But then why can't you do the
call
thing?
It someone else? You can't just call it something else. You can. A system related limitation could or could not be technical debt. It could be both. But I'm just saying, right? Like, they're somewhat realistic about it when they tell us sometimes, right? Like, this is going to be hard because of this. But there's a lot of times that it feels like they're hard blocked, right? Like by these limitations that they should focus on. But yeah, development resources and the limitations, like they won't even try to do it because they don't have the space. Like you were saying, they got to get one of everything out. So yeah, I mean, if there is a team that needs to grow, I mean, this is the one in Square Enix. Like, I don't see a lot of delays or weird stuff with Dragon Quest. Dragon Quest 3 is amazing. It's an amazing game that came out very well this re-release. So quality is good. I just think they're just spread too thin. So hopefully they have this refocusing.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
All right.
Hopefully so. And, you know, very important to note as well that while some folks have felt like Dawn Trail, you know, was so for them, there have been a lot of folks that I know that really enjoyed Dawn Trail and really vibed with it, which again is the nature of expansions. So like, while there may be a sentiment in some parts of the community or through, you know, a good hunk of the community in general about how they kind of feel about it as a starting point for the next arc, or how they felt about the content release and other stuff like that. I mean, obviously the game is still selling well. It is still popular. It is still played. And like my moderator, we still have a lot of folks coming in for the first time. And, you know, I myself enjoy Dawn Trail. Like, I have a lot of thoughts and a lot of feedback, which I do for every single piece of media or game or anything that I consume, or anything that I'm even personally working on. But at the same time, I mean, I think this game has such a wonderful foundation that, yes, I think the big thing is like, let's empower the teams. Let's let them do the things that they want to be able to do. Let's, whatever it is that's causing these walls that they can't seem to get over, you know, let them realize things. Of course, like, I think no matter what, as a game developer, you will be working within certain restrictions. And sometimes you won't be able to realize every single thing you ever wanted to realize. But it does seem like 14 has some wonderful, like, the developers and these collabs have wonderful ideas that they want to bring to the table, but more often than not are having to really compromise a lot of that. So if there's some way to be able to update, modify, expand a team, things like that, then yes, I hope Square Enix is really looking at that as they reevaluate some of their greater plan for games moving forward.
All right. I think with that we're done. As a quick heads, what?
Fish Fest.
Oh, that's right now. That's right now. Go do the Fish Fest stuff. It's happening. Yes.
Fish Fest is right now. It's happening this weekend, depending on when you listen to the podcast. This is the weekend of February 22nd. But this whole weekend it's running. There are all kinds of trains. We've done episodes in the past with Fruity Fisher about Fish Fest and about his involvement with the Eorzea Museum network, as well as the aquarium offshoots of that.
Mm-hmm.
So go check it out. They're doing a bunch of fish trains at all hours of the day. They have all kinds of events running. I think is there a scavenger hunt?
There's a scavenger hunt to find different fishing holes.
There you go. So there's a lot of things going on. And if you're looking for something to do in the game, as always, the players are creating a lot of really fun things that they are doing in 14. And Fish Fest is definitely one of them.
And then also this week coming out, February 26th, is the new Primals Blu-ray Live in Japan Darkest Before Dawn. There's still time to get the Blu-ray from CD Japan if you want to get it like on release date for, I think it's like $15 less than the Square Enix store, which has a very nice specific March release date. The CD Japan is out of the special box pre-orders. Those can still be ordered on the online store. Of course, remember the shirts are in Japanese size, so it's probably one or two smaller than what it actually says. But yeah, that'll be coming out. So make sure to get on that if you have not already. And that's it. That's everything.
We did it.
We did a podcast. Good job, everybody.
Well done. Well done.
All right. If you want, you can find me online. That button did not do all the button things it was supposed to. Oh my god.
Oh no. Oh geez.
You can find me on Blue Sky and Twitch as Raffledurg, RFLDRG, and YouTube with an X on the end. Also, a reminder, I started up a new site a couple weeks ago, ffmmoarchive.com. This coming week, I'm going to be posting some E3 2010 assets from 1.0. So keep an eye out for those if you want to see what leave quests look like and the old menu that popped off on the side of the screen. And yeah, so keep an eye out for that. That's me. Do you know?
This is so weird. Why am I next?
I know. I'm like, look, I'm like, wait, yeah.
How does that work? Hi, hello. I am Al. You know, I am on the internet here and only here, and also Blue Sky. My name is very easy to find. I'm not changing it, and nobody else wants it, so I'm good. You can also find me at +1 which is a Twitch and YouTube channel that does tabletop RPG stuff. We're kind of getting back into it after the holidays. There's a couple of games going on, a Diablo game that you may have heard of if you're here often, but they're
I think I've heard of that a couple times. Yeah.
Yeah, they're towards the end of that. There's some big name fights going on. I don't know. The game's named Diablo. I wonder if... I don't know. Anyway, there's that. And also just a plug. I will not be at, but I was at KatsuCon, which is an anime convention just outside of Washington, D.C. in my professional capacity as a engineer for motion capture and film. It was a whole lot of fun. I'm probably going to look to do more of that. So keep an eye out. But that's it for me. What about you, Rook? Where can people find you?
Everywhere. It's a surprise.
That's true.
Next. Who knows?
That's so true.
Just how it feels recently.
This is literally everywhere. You look over there, Rook's right there. I look outside of the trees. She's sitting right there in her chair.
Yeah.
She's also outside. Back
yes,
behind.
I am.
Yeah, it's weird. Everywhere.
Yeah. Nice weather today, actually.
Rook is just like
cold,
the Force. He's just all around us. And
I'm right behind you. No, I am all over these days, but typically each week, if I'm able, I try to be on my home channel, which is twitch.tv, ROOKURI, which is Rookery. You can also find me on YouTube at Rookery as well, where I upload playthroughs, mostly of Final Fantasy XIV story, but sometimes some other content as well. And you can find me on, yes, I'm still on Twitter at Rookery_. One day. The thing is, I just don't want to give him the satisfaction of driving me off of the platform, but I also hate it there. So, but no, you can find me there as well. And then, as I've been saying, but as is more true than ever, I have had the pleasure of doing a lot of events recently, special events. I just finished up the Great Push over on the Warcraft channels for World of Warcraft. I am going to be doing as well, I'm commentating alongside Lithy, the next Crystalline Conflict tournament that's happening for EU. Yes, and that's going to be here in just a couple weeks. So check that out. If you haven't seen that, be sure to tune in. It's going to be a really good time. And I am leaving out of country again here next weekend for another event. Now, it's not announced yet, but it will be very, very soon. So keep an eye out because, yes, if I'm not on my channel, I'm probably somewhere else right now doing something somewhere with people for games that we love. And I would love for you to be a part of it, too. So keep an eye out on socials, and you can join my Discord, too, for more information.
Yeah, everywhere wasn't an exaggeration. She is everywhere.
Literally.
All right. And then if you want, you can reach us here at the show. That button doesn't work either. What? I swore this worked a couple weeks ago. Email us aetheryteradio@gamerscape.com. You can find us on X at Aetheryte Radio, Blue Sky, Aetheryte Radio. .gamerscape.com because we have one of those fancy URL names. And then as Gamerscape on X, gamerscape.com on Blue Sky, Gamerscape on Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, and Discord, discord.gg/Gamerscape. We've got our Aetheryte radio channel over there. And that's it. That's it for us. Reminder, we are on a every every other week schedule right now.
Yes.
So I was like, of course, you know, we'll have to play that one by ear because the next live letter, if it is when we think it probably is, that's technically an off week, so we'll figure it out.
Hey, I'm down to do a pirate show.
Well, pirate show?
You'll have to. No, I'm just. It's like pirate
with, like,
radio
hats and an iPad.
You know? Well, sure. Well, I don't know if I want to put the hats on.
I'll come in. I'll do the peg leg. You'll never see it, but it'll be there.
Okay.
I don't want to focus on hats anymore. Okay. I want us to turn a new leaf. So let's not even do the hat.
I agree.
The only way you get out of wearing a hat is if you either do a full Hrothgar prosthetic or if you have bunny ears. Otherwise, you have to wear the hat. That's just, I don't like the rules.
I think you do, but okay, I can do it.
All right. Yeah, that'll be it for us today, everybody. Thank you so much. And go enjoy Fish Fest. And we'll see you later.
Bye.